Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Nike Book 1. So this is the Mirage V2 colorway and it retails for 140 bucks, which is kind of insane. I mean, you guys remember when first signature shoes were like 110 bucks, you know, the Kyries, the PGs, you know? It's $140 now. That's crazy, you know what I mean? So I definitely feel like, you know, first signature shoes, especially for the tech that you get in the shoe, 140 bucks is kind of insane. You know, that's very, very expensive. I wish, no, 130 bucks is pushing it. But 140 is a little expensive, you know. But if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave in the link in the description box. This shoe is pretty sold out, so it's pretty hard to get. Hopefully they release more colors, they probably will. But again, links will probably be in the description box. But let's get started right off with the Tracciones. And this colorway, we have a fully translucent outsole. There is also a solid rubber option, but also we have herringbone. It's just good old herringbone. You know, you can't really go wrong with herringbone as far as a traction pattern goes, but of course what matters in the stops of the actual shoe is the rubber compound, just from my personal experience, you know, because I've had shoes where, you know, it's a fully translucent outsole versus a solid rubber outsole and they perform differently, you know what I mean? So I feel like rubber compound is more important for the performance of the outsole. But anyways, how is the traction? The traction is freaking good, guys. Amazing, amazing, you know what I mean? So first of all, when you first get it, you don't really have to break it in. It's really, really good right out the box, you know? So that's of course a good thing. And also another thing that I really like about the shoe that doesn't really matter for performance is the squeak. This shoe is freaking loud. You know, it has a really loud, high-pitched squeak, which of course I do like as well. But yeah, how is the bite? The bite is really good. If you're playing on a clean court, oh my gosh, guys, it has an insane, it's top tier. You have really good bite. You stop pretty much on a dime. So if you're playing on a clean court, you should be fine. It has a very loud high-pitched squeak with a very good bite. So there's clean court, but how is it on dust? Dust isn't the best, you know what I mean? But it's also not terrible. I would say it's pretty good. So it picks up a good amount of dust, you know what I mean? And I'm probably showing you guys some shots of how much dust the actual outsole was picking up at the gym. But yeah, there was a good amount of dust there, and there is a little bit of flatness to the shape, you know, with this herringbone. So it seems like on the flat parts it was picking up a little bit of dust and sticking to there, you know what I mean? So yeah, but it wasn't terrible because it's very easy to wipe off, you know. So once dust was on there, I just go like this, you know, just 1 to 2 slight wipes and I was good to go. I didn't really have to like really get in there and wipe off the dust, you know. So that's a good thing. It doesn't pick up dust that quickly either. It wasn't super quick, you know. I didn't have to wipe that much in my experience, but if you do let too much dust build up, however, it does start to slide out a little dangerously, you know what I mean? So when I was doing really hard stops, you know, especially on lateral movements, I did slide out a little dangerously. You know, it was a kind of inconsistent. So just be careful on that. But if you do keep up with your wipes and you know, wipe off all the dust, then you should be fine. You're still gonna have a really good time playing on a dusty court. And also durability, you should be fine. The rubber is really, really hard. You know, the grooves are also deep and also I guess like kind of thick, you know, but there is a lot of surface area, so you should be fine playing on outdoor court. So overall, I actually really like playing in the Book 1 because the traction was really, really good. Just be careful on dust and letting too much dust build up. Make sure to wipe it all off, right? So there's that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition. Overall, it is pretty dang smooth, right? So here in the heel, we do have a little bit of a curve shape, which is super duper nice comparing to the Air Force Ones, which is just, you know, a 90-degree angle, right? Also, we do have this like a cage, which I thought was gonna be super duper stiff, but it's actually not. There is a little bit of compression here in the heel, which makes it soft and smooth here in the heel. And then the forefoot, we have a little bit of a curve shape as well. It's more flat, you know, but it's also not terrible, you know. And then we have a lot of forefoot flex. Look at that. It's very, very easy to flex. I'm doing it literally with one finger. So yeah, there is a good amount of flex and it doesn't rebound back that much, just a little bit. So overall, it's not super springy or anything like that. It's more on the smooth side of things. And overall torsion support seems pretty good. And there is a midfoot shank plate inside of this shoe, so torsional support overall does seem pretty good as well. So overall heel to toe transition is really, really nice and smooth, especially when you're doing heel dominant strides on the court. And now moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is really, really nice, but there is one huge flaw in my personal opinion because it did hurt my feet you know, when I was doing hard impacts, right? So here in the heel, right, we do have a zoom unit. It's top loaded and it's a 14 millimeter stick. So it does feel nice, and you can see it if you remove the actual insole as well. So first of all, the insole is pretty okay. It's just a regular Ortholite insole, it feels like, nothing amazing. But then underneath that, you can see the top-loaded zoom unit in the heel, and also you can see the outline of it. So that feels really nice. You know that your heel kind of sinks into the zoom unit when you're standing and stuff like that. It's good for heel strikes too. And you know, like I said, because of this cage, it seems stiff, right? But there actually is a little bit of compression here, and also they're using Cushlon, right? This is a cage, and then like kind of like the core of the midsole is Cushlon. So step and comfort also is pretty dang nice. You know, it's comfortable for underfoot cushioning. There's nice little compression here in the heel. Impact protection for heel strikes is nice. It's not super bouncy though. I guess this zoom unit in the heel is kind of bouncy, but not super bouncy. But one thing that I did notice is when I was landing on my forefoot, you know, and when you're landing, that's usually what you land on. You know what I mean? You don't really want to land on your heel. You usually land on your forefoot. And core feels pretty dang good here in the forefoot, right? It's very, very thin. And I think the cushion line is a little bit too soft probably. Maybe that's it, I don't know. But when I was landing hard, like doing hard impacts in the forefoot, it definitely hurt my foot a good amount. You know what I mean? When I was just doing kind of like, you know, regular shots, you know, not jumping up super high, not doing super hard impacts, I was fine, you know what I mean? But hard impacts, it definitely hurt here in the forefoot, so just be careful on that. But that's the only flaw of this cushioning setup in my personal opinion, right? Maybe I would have liked like a forefoot zoom unit or something in the forefoot, but for the most part, you know, step and comfort underfoot cushioning is nice. With the Cushlon, we have a pretty nice compression here in the heel from the actual midsole, and also heel strikes, you should be fine. Impact protection overall is pretty good besides hard impacts here in the forefoot. So there's the cushioning setup there. And also another interesting thing is the actual cage is different stiffness, right? So here on the lateral side, it's actually quite stiff. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of compression, but when you press it with your finger, it's pretty stiff, right? But pressing it here on the medial side, it's actually a good amount softer, it feels like, which I think is a good design, especially for lateral stability, which we'll get into, right? So there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper is actually quite nice. The quality of this material feels pretty good. And overall, it's still thin. You know, look at this. It's still a really thin and soft material, but still pretty dang supportive, conforms to my foot extremely well. There's no pinching or anything. It's overall really comfortable and soft, especially here in the toe box where your foot bends, right? So that feels nice. Also, the quality is really good. It's not buttery smooth leather, but it does feel nice. And then here in the tongue is really nice too. There's a good amount of padding, feels really cozy right on top of your foot. It's also an independent tongue. It's not a half booty construction tongue, which is weird. You know what I mean? Most modern shoes have half booty construction tongues, which is like a material that connects to like the bottom half of the tongue, and it kind of comes underneath the upper, right? Giving you a better fit. But more old school shoes give you an independent tongue, which I guess, you know, Devin Booker wants like more old school classic stuff, so I guess that's why they did that, you know. But anyways, it feels really nice on top of your foot, and also here in the ankle area it's well padded too, so super duper cozy here in the back of the shoe, which I do like. So overall, it's a really nice upper. It feels great, you know. It's thin and supportive here in the toe box, but also very cozy here in the back of the shoe, which I do like, right? Also, we have the pull tab, which is supposed to be like a book spine, you know what I mean? It's like the pages in the book, which is pretty cool. 96 for his birth year, right? So there is the upper there. Very, very nice for a first signature shoe, right? And then moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size, and the shoe still fits me extremely narrow and snug. So I think that has to do with the padding here in the ankle area, right? So I went up half a size because a lot of Nike shoes have been fitting short, and this shoe definitely fits short, right? So I would suggest most people go up half a size, right? Because my toes go really, really close to the edge of the shoe, even when I still went up half a size, right? And I think that has to do with the padding. There's a lot of padding, especially here in the back, right? So I think all this padding, you guys see how thick it is? That's probably pushing your foot forward. That's probably why it feels a little short to me. But anyways, yeah, here in the toe box, it's extremely snug, especially here at the like the edge of the toe box right here. So this is also squeezing like the tip of my toes, like right on top of my toes. So it's a really snug fit here in the toe box, narrow fit as well. Look at that. It's very, very pointy. So yeah, if you want a like more of a looser fit, maybe you go up a full size, right? But me going up half a size, it was still a little uncomfortable because of how, like, maybe probably because this is all pushing my foot forward, right? So just be careful with that. Most people, I would suggest going off pivot size, but if you want to be on the safer side of things, probably go up full size, right? And if you have a wide foot, probably go up to full size, you know, just be careful with that because it is a very snug fit here in the toe box. And here in the midfoot, I would say it stays pretty narrow as well, so just be careful with that too. So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. Support and lockdown overall was pretty good. However, here in the forefoot, it wasn't the best, right? So for lateral containment, as you guys can see, there's not a whole lot going on as far as like lateral counters go. And look at that. Look at how much it kind of like rolls over the side of the shoe, right? So it wasn't terrible, probably because of this leather material. Like if it was a mesh or something like that, textile, it definitely would have been very bad. For example, in like the KD11, you know what I mean? But here in the book one, because it's this leather material, I definitely feel like this helps. However, there's no lateral counters, right? So because of that, when you're doing lateral movements, my forefoot was kind of coming out of the footbed a little bit, right? So just be careful with that. I could definitely feel my foot stretching the side of the shoe. I definitely feel like they should have added something here. You know what I mean? You know, make the midsole come up a little bit, but that wouldn't make it look old school or classic, I guess, you know. But here in the heel, of course, there is an internal TPU heel counter, so you're fine there. But lateral containment here in the forefoot wasn't the best. It wasn't terrible though. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the best. And I feel like if you're a bigger dude, you'll definitely notice it a lot more than me. I'm not super heavy. I'm just like 165 pounds. But me feeling it at my weight, you know, if you're heavier, you'll definitely feel it a lot more, right? Also, lateral stability was pretty good. You know, it is a wide base, right? And if you look at the original Air Force One, it just goes straight. You know what I mean? It just goes straight like this, straight down. But as you guys can see in the big book one, it does protrude out here in the forefoot, right? So lateral stability is pretty good. And also that's what helps from the actual foam, right? Like I said, in the cushion, the lateral side of the foam is actually a lot stiffer than the medial side. So if this was actually soft, it would be laterally unstable. So that's a good design in my personal opinion. And also lockdown was really good. I didn't really have any issues with heel slippage or anything like that. Once I tightened the shoe, my foot felt locked into the shoe, right? So overall, support and lockdown was really good besides the lateral containment here in the forefoot. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, right? So of course, original Air Force Ones are super duper heavy. And when I first saw this, I was like, it looks pretty heavy, you know? And also when I saw the cage, I was like, oh, that's a little disappointing. But this shoe is actually a lot lighter than you think, right? So it comes in at 11.7 ounces. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So 11.7 is really light. That's like lighter than Tatum's, you know what I mean? And then 11.75 ounces, right? So this shoe is actually very lightweight, but also very cozy and comfortable, especially with all the padding here in the back of the shoe. And it's a very responsive shoe too. The traction is really good. You have a top tier bite, especially when you're playing on a cleaner court. The cushion is low to the ground. Underfoot cushion is still comfortable though. And my foot felt locked into the shoe when I was playing. It's just the lateral containment. My foot was kind of coming out of the footbed when I was doing like lateral movements, you know, crossover, step backs, cuts. So just be careful on that. But overall, it's a very responsive shoe. And now moving on to the ventilation. No, there's really not a whole lot of airflow through this actual upper. And also, like I said, there's a lot of padding, so it's not the coolest. It's actually quite warm here for the book one. And now moving on to the aesthetics, I love it. You know what I mean? A lot of people were hating on it because it looks like an Air Force One, but wouldn't that be a reason to like it? You know what I mean? Like Air Force Ones look great. It's a classic shoe. I love this colorway as well with this like really flat blue color. And it's definitely a shoe that you can wear off court. And I feel like that's what a lot of companies are trying to do, because if you look at old school shoes, basketball shoes, a long time ago, people didn't care about rocking basketball shoes that look like basketball shoes off court, right? But I feel like nowadays people want to wear shoes that look like off-court shoe, you know, like a casual shoe. And also if you can play in it, that's also a plus, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't like wearing hoop shoes outside, I feel like, you know? So yeah, I feel like with this design, you can definitely rock it off court, but also you can definitely play with it on court, you know? So wrapping things up, this shoe is really nice. There are like a few kind of minor things that I don't like about this shoe. Mainly, you know, it is a little bit dangerous if you do let a little too much dust build up, but it's not terrible if you keep up with your wipes. Also, the forefoot impact protection, like on hard impacts, wasn't the greatest, and the lateral containment here in the forefoot wasn't the best either, but none of those things were terrible, you know what I mean? I could deal with it. Of course, you know, if that is something that you want, you know, you want better impact protection or you want better lateral containment, this shoe isn't the best. But for most people, I feel like you should be fine. Like for me, like I said, they were minor things. So overall, this shoe is really, really nice, and I really did enjoy playing in these. So if you're a guard, I definitely feel like you will like this shoe. It's a very, very responsive shoe, low to the ground, and also lightweight, right? But if you're a bigger dude, however, probably not the best option because of the lateral containment here in the forefoot, but I feel like you can make it work. You can make it work, but if that's something that you really do prioritize, this isn't the best option, right? But anyways, I did really enjoy playing in the book ones, so I do recommend it to you guys. Is it my favorite, however? I would definitely say it's up there though. You know, I really did enjoy playing in those things, but there are a few minor things where it doesn't make this shoe perfect for me, you know what I mean? So, you know, for example, like the AR1, you know, is like a perfect shoe. The AE one is like a perfect shoe. The Hardens are a perfect shoe, you know? The Jaw ones I really like playing in. So I definitely feel like those are a little bit better, but the book one is still up there, right? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Nike Book 1. Again, if you guys do want to call, I try to leave the link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.